Karen, you ready? I'm ready, okay. All right, the time is 7 p.m. and I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. Let it be known that we do have a quorum. We have Councilman Brawley, Councilman Franklin, Councilman Goodwin, Councilman Wilson present, and Councilman Drake is online. This meeting has been duly posted in accordance to the Texas Government Code Section 551, and we are allowed to have a combination in-person and online meeting according to governor's orders. Councilman Brawley, would you lead us in invocation and pledge?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us, individuals, and as a community. As we come together this evening, we pray that you bless all those participating in this meeting and to our family members, friends. Father, we would ask you to watch over and safeguard our city staff, our city employees, and our first responders as they go about their duties of service to our community. Finally, Lord, we ask you to provide us with guidance and your wisdom as we conduct business in the city. Help us in our deliberations that we might represent all of the community fairly and make decisions that are common good. All these things we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do want to make note that we have several guests with us today, and we are pleased to have them here. And we'll get to some of that information here in just a minute. So right now we got a recognition, and online we have Pastor Caraway, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. And this presentation is because the week before 4th of July, I guess that was the 25th, 26th. Okay, 26th, here we go. I'll figure that out. We actually had our Red Oak White and Blue festivities, and we joined partnership with the Oaks Church out there on the highway. And what better partnership? We could not have had any more partnership. That was a great thing. We had an excellent turnout. We had food trucks. We had games for the youngins and the old ones alike, and then they graciously opened up their back pasture for our fireworks celebration. And we have this plaque that we will get to you that says the City of Red Oak is honored to extend special recognition to Oaks Church for their steadfast support and generous contributions to the 4th annual Red Oak White and Blue. And that was, there's the date right there, June 26th of 2021. So again, thank you for allowing us to partner together. I think it was a great success, especially after the missing of one last year. And I couldn't have been better weather. It turned out fabulous. It wasn't near as hot as what we've had before, but thank you very much. So.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the Oaks Church, we're just honored that we can be a part of it.
You bet. And we're looking forward to many years of other partnerships, and we got some other things that might be coming down the pike. So that's great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Then we have, is there anybody on for from Citizens National Bank also? So I do want to extend a special recognition to Citizens National Bank their generous contribution helped fund that wonderful display. And, you know, I think over the fourth or the third, whenever the other cities were doing theirs, you know, it was kind of iffy about the weather. So I'm glad we did ours the week before, but without their generous support too, we would not have been able to have a stellar showing of fireworks. So we will extend that or get this out to the citizens nationally. July is a lot of neat things are happening. One, my father celebrated his 89th birthday, so we're glad and July is designated as Park and Recreation Month. And, you know, growing up, it was a lot of fun going out to parks, playing, swimming, playing balls, football, basketball, baseball. Didn't do any soccer, but we're just fortunate that we have now kind of turned the corner here within the city to have some great facilities, and then we've always had just good open spaces, and we're continuing to get those better. And we know that that actually helps with the community. So we're so excited to be able to recognize July as Park and Recreation Month. So Mr. Kelly, would you like to come receive? Mr. Kelly is our Parks Director. He came to us a little over a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah. So, and we are excited at what you're providing with all the parks and how things are moving. So thank you very much. So, gotcha. So, Mr. Sullivan, this is the time in citizens' comment. So will you please come to the podium and bring your distinguished guests with you and do some introductions for us, please. Could you come up here too? You want to introduce them?
Okay. Dr. Stanfield, Red Oak Mayor, and this is Joe Goodman, past pastor of Red Oak Lodge.
And the other?
Okay. Steve Johnny is a member, he's a cook. And Ron Sands,
The junior cook.
and Ronnie Sullivan.
Oh, yes, sir.
The Masons in Texas actually give 2 awards to people who aren't Masons. One is the Marabou B. Lamar Award that we give to students and teachers. And the other is the Community Builder Award. And during my year of being master at the Red Oak Lodge, I assigned a committee to come up with a community builder. Well, we had like 3 nominations, but the funny part about it is that Dr. Stanfield, you had 8 nominations from different people that are part of our Masonic Lodge, and the other people were going, you know, my nomination's good, but and so, but the Community Builder Award is given to somebody who has really worked hard to make the community they live in better. And so I'm going to be real brief with this because this is a whole page long. It's sort of like the sermons I give at my church, you know. You make prayer short before meals, but you make it long at church. But he graduated from Red Oak in 1983. He went to the university in 1987. I didn't get to go there. I tried, but I didn't get to go there. I had to go to that other place in Waco. He, at Texas A&M, he got a doctorate of veterinary medicine. In 93, he opened an animal hospital in Ovilla in 1999. He served on the Red Oak School Board from 2004 to 2018. And that was a very active time for him because he secured TSTC to come to the Red Oak campus, the Triumph factory that does airplane parts, the new Red Oak High School, Elementary School, and Shields Elementary, and the remodeling of the Live Oak campus for Shields. He served on the Red Oak ISD Education Foundation. He was a founding member. He also helped raise over $1.4 million for innovative teaching grants and scholarships. Youth basketball coach, Youth Baseball Association Board of Directors, PTA members. Okay, and I'm getting tired of reading all of this. We're only about a third of the way through. But he's also active in his church, a youth leader at Ovilla United Methodist Church from 2009 to 2017. He's been mayor since 2018 here, and I know it's hard to be a mayor or council members because I worked for cities for 35 years, so I'm really familiar with what you guys go through, gentlemen and ladies go through. But as a result, we decided, our lodge voted, and it was like, everybody's going, yeah, this is the guy we need to give it to. This guy, and we didn't even have to read all of this stuff. They already know him, you know. So we have the Community Builder Award that we're going to present to you. Dr. Stanfield? You're welcome. Here, you want to hold it up so you can get a picture?
Yeah, can I get all of you in a photo?
Oh, yeah.
Well, right here, good, yeah.
Box that on my phone real quick. Perfect.
And that's suitable for hanging, but we also have a Community Builder Award, and really, this is impressive. I really like this one. This is something you can put on your desk. You're welcome. There you go, I'll give you the box. Thank you.
Not deserving, but honored.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you all very much for coming.
So I do have family here, and I am here. I have my brother, my middle brother, my father, and my wife. So, Greg, Grant.
Mayor, would you like me to grab a photo with the plaque in your name?
Sure. Why not?
And then you grab one with all of you. Do you guys want to get in that?
One more time.
Sorry. Sorry.
This is our page one. Do it up.
Perfect, thank you.
You guys better read
Well, that's okay.
Now, we know that you'd love to stay for our city business, but we understand if you need to slip out, so, but thank you very much. Good to see y'all. Thank you. Did you write it? No fires lately. Okay, the time, is there anything else, anybody else that signed up for citizen comments? We're at a point in the meeting where we have consent agenda. Consent agendas are considered routine in nature and can be acted upon in one motion. Items can be withdrawn by either myself, any council member, city manager, and acted upon separately. And I do understand that there is a number to be removed.
Mayor, item 7, can we pull that?
You bet. Was there any other items that need to be withdrawn for separate discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to pass items 1 through 6 and 8 through 10.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Brawley, second by Councilman Goodwin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
All right, and that's 5-0. Now we will take item 7 separately. Item 7 is consider adoption and resolution number 21-062R, the City Council of City Red Oak, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of the TIPS vendor agreement by and between the City of Red Oak, Texas, and Castro Roofing of Texas, LLC, for the roof repair of the city building located at 207 West Red Oak Road, Red Oak, Texas, the old Lions Club building, in the amount not to exceed $81,245.55, as provided by Exhibit A, attached here to and incorporated herein, authorizing the city and manager to execute the necessary documents and provide an effective date. So, we want to have a discussion about that, since it seems like it's a large amount for this roof on the building aspect, is what Councilman Brawley had conveyed to me earlier. So, can you kind of share with us what?
So originally, when we started discussing this project back in planning for this current year's budget, we brought it in with a composite architectural shingle roof, and council discussed it and said, let's go ahead and put a metal roof on. So we budgeted for the metal roof. In the meantime, pandemic and inflation has skyrocketed, so it went from, I think, 40-something thousand up to the 81,000, which is just extremely high. So what we looked at, and I had Kyle go get some estimates, and I think he actually got quotes at this point. We would still have to get some more. But I think he's got a quote for a regular T-lock shingle for about $20,000, and for the architectural shingles for about $25,000. Is that correct?
Well, so the replacing the shingle is about $20,000. There was some additional work on the fascia, rotted wood, and then gutters, which the total is actually $28,500. They said that if we did want to include the architectural shingles versus the 3-tab, that would go up about $5,000.
So to 30,
35,
33.
roughly. I don't have an exact number. But the 28.5 is an exact number.
Okay. And I guess we don't know if there's damage underneath these old shingles since they're.
There is some decking that needs to be replaced, and that's included in the price.
Okay. So council, discuss.
That's a lot better to me. Good catching that.
I think we were all in agreement with the metal before, but not at that price.
Right.
And if we can get something comparable that's gonna last us, good construction.
What
I think
was-
we should get the savings.
What was the year, what's the year duration on metal?
50
years?
These are 30 years.
30-year on the comp shield.
So, council, how do we go about modifying this?
That's within the manager's signing authority, it's not required to be bid, it's under $50,000. So if you know what you want to do, the motion would be to authorize who the vendor is and the amount of the money.
We're actually not prepared. We don't have 3 quotes. We just have the one.
We don't have to publicly bid it, but we do have, for our own purchasing policies, we have a three quote system, so we do have to get some other quotes. But it is under the $50,000. So I guess basically you've already funded the 80-something thousand. So if y'all are okay with it, we could go ahead, get our other 2 quotes, and then I could go ahead and execute at the architectural shingle price.
Okay, so we don't do anything then?
Correct, sir.
Okay. All right. Everybody good with that?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Drake? Okay, good.
Correct, yes.
All right. Regular. Okay. Item 11. Consider approval of ordinance number 21-016 of the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, providing for voluntary annexation territory generally described as being 206.285 acres more or less out of the Gaza B. Lamar Survey, Abstract 657, and the James M. Riggs Survey, Abstract 902, in the City of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, as described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein for all purposes to the City of Red Oak, Texas, and extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include said property within the city limits, and granting all inhabitants and owners of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding all inhabitants by all the ordinances, acts, resolutions, regulations of said city, providing for a service plan, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing the severability clause, and providing an effective date.
Mayor, you can pass both these one motion. They are 2 separate ordinances.
Okay, just need to read it
2
in.
separate tracks.
Okay.
If you want, I'll read the second one.
Sure, that'd be great.
Also, agenda item 12 for discussion and consideration. Consider approval of ordinance 21-017 of the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, providing for the voluntary annexation territory generally described as being 223.493 acres more or less of the John Bell Survey, Abstract 61, and the William H. Survey, Abstract 725, in the City of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, as described in Exhibit A, which is attached here to and incorporated herein for all purposes to the City of Red Oak, Texas, and extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include said property within the city limits, and granting to all the inhabitants and owners of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding all the inhabitants by all the ordinances, acts, resolutions, and regulations of said city, providing a service plan, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date.
So, council, are there any questions that you have on this?
No, sir.
Okay. And we are receiving a recommendation from the city to approve this, correct?
Correct. So in item 13, which will be done separately, that's if you recall, Mr. Hargrove wanted the zoning, so that'll come afterwards. We have to bring it into the city first. But we've been through that. P&Z's looked at that as well. And that seems to work out for both of us.
Okay. So item 11 and 12, ordinance number 21-016 and 21-017. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Okay, since
I'll
I didn't hear
second.
voices, all hand. So Councilman Goodwin, that's a first, and Councilman Drake, that's a second. And those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Raleigh, aye. Aye.
All right, that's 5-0 for items 11 and 12. Item 13, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-020, the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and the map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by creating a planned development 120, PD 120, located on approximately 207 acres of land in the Gaza B. L. Lamar Survey, Abstract 657, and the James M. Riggs Survey, Abstract 902, and approximately 224 acres of land on the John Bell Survey, Abstract 61, and the William H. Morris Survey, Abstract 725, in the city of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, which is attached here to as Exhibit A, providing for approval of the development plan, and attached hereto as Exhibit B, providing for a base zoning of single-family resident SF with deviations to allow for limited non-residential land use as considered upon future amendments, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative of all ordinances, providing for a conflicts clause, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, providing a penalty for penalty of fines not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for violation hereof, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date. Z21010, requested by Mr. Hargrove. Okay, Mr. Kimball, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sounds like you'll have the report, you've discussed the annexation, so you're familiar with the location, so I won't belabor all that. But just for the record, we can see the two tracts of land here shown in the highlighted areas in red. And so for this PD, what we have is just sort of a sketch agreement of some important features that protects the city's interest and aligns with Mr. Hargrove's interest. The highlights of that, as you can see, and I'll just call out what usually people focus on, which is a 100-foot minimum lot width, about a 6/10 per acre minimum, and a minimum living area of 2,000 square feet. That would, of course, include the garage for anyone listening online who may not know that difference. And then, again, to protect the city's interests, any future development plans, the landscape plan, any other details, such as fencing, screening, that kind of stuff, would all need to be part of any kind of PD amendment that would be brought back forth to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended to approve this item 5-0. We had no opposition to the item from the general public, only a couple of questions just asking, hey, where is that and what's going on? With that, take any questions.
So, Just, I have a general question. So on those aerial photos, all that red, included land, is that part of the city limits?
Well, this property borders the city limits.
So that one actually physically touches it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and then this one on the other side is the discontiguous one. Again, y'all, I think, discussed this unique opportunity.
Sure. All right.
How many feet either in this area?
In this area,
Yes, sir.
I do not know the answer to that question. I'd have to look that up and get back to you.
I can tell you that anything that's out there is gonna be either ag or PD.
Yeah, I did see a TD 60 here, off Hunsucker. But I'm not sure what that's for.
How big are those lots?
These would be generally 6/10 of an acre, a little over half an acre.
Minimum.
In square feet?
26,000 square feet.
Yeah, that sounds correct.
For, maybe 65 by 150 or 60, whatever,
It's 100-foot wide, but 250-foot deep,
all of them.
a minimum.
Well, that would be the
Could be
minimum.
bigger than that, but minimum that.
You don't have a Salt City here.
No, this is more similar to, Cole Manor
Yeah, okay,
that Mr. Hargrove did already.
that's a good one.
All right, so, this is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing at 7:32. Is there anybody online that needs to speak to this? Is there anybody else inside that can speak or ask any other questions?
I don't see anybody.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion at 7:33 to close this public hearing. Okay, Councilman Franklin,
Second.
Councilman Brawley. Those in favor, closing?
Franklin, aye.
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 Raleigh, aye.
Drake, aye.
All right, so that's closed. Council, is there any other questions that need to be answered? We've been working with this, so we know now that they've hammered it out. So our understanding is when they actually come with, some of that has to be, come back forward as the plan development, information. So it's very basic right now. It's just to give them some freedom, the developer.
Right, they have to bring back their development plan or all of their architectural, landscaping, and so forth requirements. This just ensures that they're able to do the density that they were requesting in the first place.
Talk about lakes and stuff like that, aren't they?
They will under the development plan, not under this document.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance 21-020.
So moved.
Councilman Wilson.
Second.
Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Then aye. Wilson, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Drake, aye.
All right, that's passes 5-0. Item 14, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-021, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the City of Red Oak, Texas as heretofore amended and approving a change in zoning from commercial C1 to plan development 124, PD 124 for property located at 301 South State Highway 342, Lot 4, Block A, the Red Oak Business Park, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, and being more particularly depicted in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing for zoning of commercial C1 to allow for a deviation in landscaping, parking, setback requirements, and providing for special conditions, providing for approval of site plan attached hereto as Exhibit B, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative of all ordinances, providing for a conflicts clause, providing for a repealing clause, providing for a severability clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for violations hereto, providing a savings clause, providing an effective date, case C 21016, requested by Ms. Cleveland. Mr. Ginsel.
Thank you, sir. So this case has kind of two parts to it. One is in relationship to the idea of having the dog hotel, dog daycare aspect. The other is this issue about certificates of occupancy triggering a need to meet landscaping and parking requirements and how that code is written. Also, item 16 with Ms. Wade, she has also the certificate of occupancy and landscaping issue. So I'm going to kind of tackle that topic first before we get to the dog hotel. So in a nutshell, the basic idea is the way our code is set up, and again, for the public record, I realize some of you all may already know this. Someone wants to inhabit a building or a piece of property, they need to get a certificate of occupancy from the city. We break this out as to when do you need to get that certificate of occupancy. We have it pretty detailed, which is great, and in some of those details it includes, as you can see here on the screen, for a change in ownership and or name of an existing building. So in theory, someone is operating Al's Burgers, they feel like their sales would be improved if they change their name to Bob's Burgers, so they would need to get a brand new CO, which could trigger parking and landscaping requirements, which may not be an issue, it just depends. So the issue that we've run into with this site, as well as many others, is one, TxDOT takings, thank you TxDOT, impacting older developments, making it darn near impossible to physically meet the landscaping requirements. But then we just simply have some older developments, that were approved however long ago, and they just don't meet the landscaping requirement. For those listening, our landscaping requirement has been on the books for more than 15 years, so this wasn't some recent change in the landscaping requirement, and I believe this requirement in the CO has been around about just as long. So these aren't so much new changes. I would say this is me coming in and looking at it and talking with our city attorney also and saying, well, but this is how the code is written. And so in my experience, this gets to a level where staff could be in the position of exercising some discretion that's really not ours to be exercising. It's great when you trust us and we look out on things on your behalf and exercise some discretion for more minor things. But for something like this, and I'm going to give you a concept that I'd done for Ms. Wade when I was just trying to communicate to her what was going on, because it's easier to see sometimes than just to talk about it. Now again, this is Ms. Wade's site. So there's the landscaped area that's in green that's there. The shaded green is conceptually where you could take out parking lot to try to meet the landscaping area requirement alone. Some cities may want to pursue this. There could be reasons why you want to do it. Some cities may say, no, don't do that. Just make sure that whatever you were originally approved for, just meet that landscaping requirement. We approved you with 4 trees, 1 died, give us a new tree. You're supposed to have 4. Some cities will say, well, we want to get a little more better, so maybe we do it to the extent practical. But again, when it says meet the landscaping requirement, period, end of sentence, nothing else, I got to a point where I wasn't feeling very comfortable exercising discretion in the absence of really any other guidance. So and again, I appreciate Ms. Wade and Mark's patience and the many others who are being impacted by this, and I appreciate the city attorney working with me on a solution for this. So what we have right now, for now, is providing a path of a PD to have this basically what functions as a waiver to say if you've got this existing building for your site, as long as you don't redevelop it, do something expensive that could justify needing to meet the landscaping, then you're essentially waived for having to meet the landscaping requirement for a CO. But we're keeping everything else in place. We did also have a discussion, I'm just saying, about P&Z on this issue more broadly, and so we intend to bring back to you next month an amendment proposed. I mean, it's y'all's legislative discretion to do what you want, but to give y'all something to P&Z and to y'all to work with, to consider if you want to change this code. You may not want to, but that's y'all's call. So again, back to the specifics of the dog hotel and Ms. Cleveland's request here. So on the CO landscaping issue, it's basically a waiver to having to meet the landscaping requirement. And then the dog hotel, so rather than opening up the whole city code at this time to allow this use, this allows you the opportunity to essentially have an experiment and see how it goes. So we've got the Pez Hotel Daycare defined. We have some requirements for her site, limited hours, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., not to exceed 35 pets, needs to have supervision of the animals outdoors at all times, that kind of thing, parking requirements, pretty standard stuff. Looked at several other cities, including Dalworthington Garden in Dallas, and then one in California, I forget the name of, to try to get some guidance, and then to show you the particular site that we're talking about. And it's surrounded by commercial one and industrial, so you don't have anything with residential right next to it. So she's looking at taking over the middle suite of the building that's shown here in blue, and using the green area as the immediate outdoor play area for the dogs, and would look to taking in the yellow. I would also note, nothing, if you approve this, this does not approve anything that may be non-conforming, illegal, like, and our code enforcement officer has been in touch about some issues on the site about tires and such. But this is a much older satellite photo, so this doesn't represent what's going on today on the site. And the property owner's been made aware, and again, they are working with our code enforcement people on that. And again, you approving this is just essentially keeping it C1, adding this dog hotel use with some standards, and providing this issue of what functions like a waiver for the landscaping on the CO. And P&Z approved this request as is, 5-0. We only had a phone call asking questions about what are y'all doing? It was just informational, wasn't no opposition or support either way. So with that, I'll take any questions.
So what's there right now?
Sorry?
What's there right now?
Well, right now, my understanding is the middle suite is vacant, and on the, what would be to the left-hand side would be a car detail business, and on the right-hand side is a tire minor auto repair.
The car detail business used to be in there, they cut back, so now that space is vacant.
So will they move through that whole thing? I mean, it's owned by the Clevelands?
No, they are a tenant, so the property owner is separate from any of these uses.
Okay. But they could potentially lease that other space in between there?
No, this would be for this specific suite, so if they did want to, they would need to come back and ask, hey, can we expand this?
Sure. And so, you brought up the text dot, that was more just for any other piece of property, or is some of that, are they supposed to be losing some of those parking?
No, but I will note that one reason why it's not real practical to require from them is whenever TxDOT does expand the thoroughfare plan shows 120 foot of right of way. So they would, if that ever came up and TxDOT did take it, that would pretty much come up to the edge of their parking lot. So, it doesn't seem like it makes much sense to ask them to go and say, put in trees and shrubs here, and 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it could all be part of TxDOT right away. And it may or may not stand, but it wouldn't be on their site anymore. And so it wouldn't count.
All right, so this is a public hearing, and we're doing each one separate, even though you you specifically kind of brought up the
Correct.
item 15. Okay, so this public hearing will open at 7:45. Is there anybody that is online that needs to be speaking?
Yeah, I believe the Clevelands are online, so if you guys hear this, this is now your turn to speak on your request.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm really excited about I'm Gracie, the one requesting for the dog hotel. I'm excited that this might be approved. I think it'll be a great up and coming thing for Red Oak and Ellis County in itself. I know there are many dog-friendly apartment complexes, I think, going to be built or in the works. So I think it would be a great asset to Red Oak to have a dog hotel.
Thank you, Ms. Cleveland. Anyone else? There were no write-ins or anything like that. Okay, the time is 7:46, and I will entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Councilman Goodwin? Second. Councilman Franklin? Those in favor of closing?
Franklin, aye.
Aye. Aye. Raleigh, aye.
Drake, aye.
So that passes 5-0 at 7:46. All right. So any discussion, council, on the, in my opinion, and I think you kind of hit it on this description, I think requiring 8 parking spots doesn't really fit for that, but that's not here, they're not gonna have eight, they're gonna have employees that are gonna be parking there and, to take care of them, but they're not gonna be filling all those, so I'm good with that. So what would they have to do for the landscaping for this?
Well, if you were to prove it as it is, they wouldn't need to provide any additional landscape.
Okay, so even though this is a shared space, is it looked at as one space for landscaping, or do they have to provide, would they?
I think, is it prorated or something?
Yeah.
No, the way your code is set up, no, it would not be prorated. I mean, the way your current code is set up. So it's anytime, so if you've got a shopping strip of 10 units, anytime one of those changes and needs a CO, the whole site in which they're in as a singular site could be a trigger for needing to meet all landscaping requirements.
Because it's actually the property owner's responsibility as opposed to tenant's responsibility.
So this is looked at as one storefront, right? This entire property that we're looking at?
It's basically a big strip center, just with different types of uses.
Okay, so I think my concern is, well, why wouldn't this be a non-conforming structure if it's one big shopping center with individual buildings?
Why would it be a well, I mean, it's non-conforming, I think, in terms of materials as a structure.
Well, non-conforming as in, the use is still a shopping center. It's not like they sold the shopping center and someone else came in and bought the shopping center to renovate it or do something new.
Gotcha.
It just seems like you shouldn't trigger to change the landscaping if it's still a shopping center, just have a new tenant.
And that's what we're gonna try to correct with the ordinance.
Well, we're gonna discuss that, because I did not know we were talking about that tonight. That's blowing up my ears for the first time. And there are some very specific reasons why we have that language in the code. So we need to talk about that more before we go any further with it.
Let's table this.
I don't think you need to table this. I think this one is fine as well as Jimmy Wade's. I think this is an easy way to fix that problem just with PD.
The use.
Right.
The use is triggering this, not that it's not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have
both.
that definition for a dog hotel. That's what's triggering, that's one thing triggering PD.
And what were you saying?
I was just was saying, well, it's both, the dog hotel issue, but still also needing relief from the landscaping for the CO, because the dog hotel is approved for the zoning to be allowed, they would need to get a CO, which would then trigger the landscaping,
Okay.
which then they don't want to do all that landscaping to the dog hotel, nor does the property owner, which, again, there's some practical limitations to the current site to try to do that.
Okay.
I mean, that's the reasoning behind it for this particular request.
But there's more information that you have to look into for moving forward. Right.
Right. For this one, you know, what we're doing for these two here tonight, there's no issue.
Okay.
That works for them. The issue is changing the code itself.
Right. That's enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what are the yellow and the green? Yeah.
So the green would be the immediate play area that she's interested in, and then the yellow would be the future play area. So if you approve this, you would be approving the future play areas in addition to the immediate play area that she would need, shown in green.
So is there a fence, perimeter fence all the way around on the backside?
There is.
Yeah. So,
I think there's another perimeter fence around the green area already, isn't there?
Yeah, I believe it's chain link. I don't recall if there's vinyl slats on this side. Seems like there were over here, but I don't recall the southern side.
so I guess, you know, just Miss Cleveland, just for the liability aspect, I've been doing it for 30 years. You know, it'd be good to have a connection between and if you can see this, I don't know if you can see this or not, but the blue area that's enclosed to walking the dogs to get in there. You know, I'm just giving you a word of the wise. So if they have to put up a fence to have a walkway to be able to get to that area, does that have to come back to us?
I don't think they could put a fence to get to that area because the other tenants have to be able to get into their building from the rear. So they do have a perimeter fence around the entire property, so it couldn't get loose and go out on the 342 or something like that.
Right.
But if we tried to put a walking way fenced in along the back side, then how are the guys in the other suites going to be able to get past it?
So essentially, animals can be in the yellow and green area, just free will?
Yeah. It's a play area.
But from my understanding, we have the blue building, which is the subject, right?
Yeah.
And the two gray are separate businesses, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, for the sake of conversation, the yellow and green areas, they could have the animals out doing, I don't know, recess.
Yep.
And someone to come out of one of the gray buildings and essentially run into an animal.
Well, they'll be fenced in those green areas.
Green.
There'll be an interior fence also.
Okay, that's what
So what the mayor's talking about is I'm gonna have to go out my back door,
Right.
lead the dog down just in the big open area
Right.
until we get back into the smaller fenced area.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like the name.
just use two, 3 leashes, I'm telling you.
Boo's Dog Hotel, that's a good name.
All right, any other discussion, council? All right. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21-021.
So,
Councilman Franklin.
Second.
Councilman Brawley, sorry, Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye. Aye. Raleigh, aye.
Drake, aye.
Excellent, 5-0. Yeah, we're excited to have you in the neighborhood, so that's a good thing. That's Cleveland.
That's a lot of money out.
All right, item 15, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-022 of the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended, and granting a change in zoning from commercial 1 C1 to plan development 121 PD 121 for the property located at 309 State Highway 342, Red Oak, Texas, Red Oaks, Ellis County, Texas, said property being more particularly described as Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing for base zoning for commercial C1, providing for approval of and use of the properties in accordance with the site plan, landscape plan, floor plan, elevation attached hereto is Exhibit B through D and incorporated herein, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative of all ordinance, providing for a conflicts clause, providing for a repealing clause, providing for a severability clause, providing for a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for the violation hereof, providing a savings clause and providing an effective date. This is case Z 21014, requested by Benito Juarez. Mr. Gensel.
Okay, so with this case, it's on State Highway 342, and it's in this tricky area that's on the west side of 342 between it and the rail. And this property is currently zoned C1 commercial, but when it was platted not in conformance with the zoning. The zoning requires a 100-foot deep lot, and it's platted at 90. So to fix that and some other site constraints, they're requesting a PD. That's the main reason for the request. It's overdid it, apologies. Gonna show you the site plan here. Hopefully you can see this okay. And also we're still going back and forth with his consultant on some stuff, but it's, I think, more of a clerical error than anything else. But with this site, if you can see clearly enough, this is the building footprint, about 1,500 square feet. There would be an additional little porch that would stick out here on the front. You've got your parking spaces. I believe there were 8 provided, which meets the parking standard. You've got your dumpster back here. We checked with CWD. They don't have an issue with it. You've got your fire lane for fire code. Fire marshal was satisfied with that. This, granted, is all new, would be new construction, but again, with the site limitations, they would be challenged in meeting our landscaping requirements. So they are putting some landscaping. They show what would technically be in the right-of-way. Again, they're just trying to do something, but it would just be shrubs. And then they're putting the trees here closer to the building. Our code would require trees along the frontage, which would mean near the front property line, not the front building, but this is all they can do, so they're trying. We've also been working with them for quite a while. We were just trying to work with them within the site constraints of C1 zoning, but it just got to a point, especially when we figured out, oh, there's a 90-foot deep lot, it wasn't platted properly. Well, you're just going to have to change the zoning. The PD basically is doing that. It's giving them that relief on the landscaping requirement and the fact that technically the lot is 10 feet too shallow. It's for a barbershop hair salon, and we got some elevations, but it's all masonry exterior consistent with our materials code. So that's the overview, so I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
All right, so this is a public hearing also. The time is 7:59, and we will open this public hearing. Is there anybody on Zoom to speak on this?
Well, while we're waiting, I thought of one last thing I forgot to mention. The blue shaded area, this is the area that we discussed with them, that rather than being concrete, which again, I think it was just an error shading the layer, would actually be grass. Just so you know, so this blue shaded area would be grass.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion at 8 PM to close this public hearing. So, all right, Councilman Franklin, second by Councilman Goodwin. Those in favor of closing?
Franklin, aye.
Good one.
Raleigh, aye.
Wilson, aye.
Drake, aye.
All right, that's 5-0 closed at 8 PM. All right, so I guess I have a question about this. Why, I mean, can we not have 0 lot lines? Push that back and then get some landscape up front? Or, I mean, is there a problem putting that landscaping in the right of way?
Well, you can't put it in the right of way because textile is around it.
Okay, so,
And you have to have the minimum access for the cars to drive through, to back in and out of the parking spot.
so if you push that building back, we made that less on this one since we're making this a planned development. I'm just talking right now, just pointing out things that I've kind of looked at. You get a little bit, you know, it concerns me how many chairs that they have that's in that piece, that building, and how many people are they gonna have in there cutting hair at the same time, and how are they gonna get, if they only have 8 parking spots? Or, you know, that kind of concerns me. I didn't know, like, so the building right next to it, it's on the 0 lot line, or very close.
Yeah, well, the PD, you can move it all the way back, assuming you don't have utility easements and so forth going in the roof.
So did y'all talk about that at P&Z or anything?
No, we did not talk about moving the building.
You know, I know that's not to scale, and so you got 10 feet on the north side and 10 on the west, but.
Mayor, there may be some concern, that's backing up the railroad. There's nobody more jealous of the property than the railroad. I'd be concerned that there has to be some access to fire. Fire access.
I'm not sure there is anywhere else out there that's existing building.
That's tight.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a distance from the edge of the rock to the edge of that.
Sure, the railroad has a huge right of way.
Yeah.
Through there.
Right.
You just leave it like it is, we don't got a road.
I think you could do either way. I think the way it is would work. I think what you're talking about, unless there's some reason they can't scoot the building back, you could scoot the building back and have some landscaping in front of the building.
That's what I'm
But
trying to.
not all the way along the entire frontage, because you got your drive coming. But you could do that.
Yeah, and maybe that would help, kind of, so we're not having to do that landscape on that one. Since they haven't broken anything, it's not an existing building, they're gonna, you know, move it 5 feet, and then they got, especially if that's a porch, a 2-foot porch, full length of it.
Yeah, 2 feet, yes, sir.
So is that an existing utility easement in the rear, or is that something proposed?
I think that was, Ben, do you remember that was on the plan?
So that would be why you can't scoot it back. You've got an existing utility easement, you can't build it.
Okay. So how are those others? If those other buildings are right next to it, are they sitting on top of the easements?
They probably didn't plat or, they were existing already.
Okay, easement for us?
Correct.
Typically for sites, talk about easements that are on side property lines or in the rear. We usually put ourselves in the right of way or in the front. If there's an easement in the front, and this one actually has, I believe it's got a sewer easement that runs in the front, or we've got our sewer lines that's served by Rocket Water, so we don't need a water easement or anything like that.
Are there any actual utilities in the ground back there, or is that just a factor of platting?
They probably just put it there for platting, but, so it could be vacated wanted to replat.
So you can vacate it, scoot the building back, put some landscaping in the front.
I'm more for that, but not my privy, so. I mean, cause if you can't use, I mean, on either side, you got a building that's right up to the back of the property line, and there's not an easement, then why are we requiring them to do that?
If the council's inclined to scoot the building back, I would recommend that you table this till next month and ask him. They may have reasons, because if you do, and he'll say, well, I ain't gonna build it on the lot line, I'm done. And so you lose that. So I hate for you to do planning in the middle of the meeting.
Sure, okay, that's fine. Well, I'm just pointing out some things that just struck me as a little bit
If that's the
different,
consensus that you would like to see the building moved back.
Well, to split the difference, I mean, y'all could approve it as is tonight, and we certainly would talk with them about this discussion point. And if he likes the idea and would want to pursue it, we can just bring it back next month, just run it back through, and if it'll work out. Like Mr. Hager's saying, we don't really want to plan it, you know.
I understand.
Yeah, so.
Well, council, what's your privy?
That's it like it is. Get off that road.
Like it is, yeah.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21-022.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Goodwin, aye. Wilson, aye. Raleigh, no.
Drake, aye.
All right, so that's 4-1, passes. Item 16, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-023 of the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from C1, Commercial 1, to Plan Development 123, PD 123 for a property located on approximately 0.36 acres of land on 31B of the Country Ranch Estate Edition, in addition to the city of Red Oak, Texas, Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas. Said property being more particularly described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing for zoning of Commercial 1, C1, to allow for a deviation in landscaping and parking requirements, and providing for special conditions, providing for approval of the site plan, and providing for, and attached hereto as Exhibit B, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative of all ordinances, providing for a conflict clause, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for violations hereto, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date. Case Z 21015, requested by Jimmy Wade. Mr. Gensel.
Sure, thank you. So, again, kind of already tipped the hand on this one, as it were. So for Ms. Wade, she's looking to sell the property to Mark, who I think just stepped out. And she, she's trying to make it viable. She doesn't want her buyer to have any surprises. So, we've been talking about what he may want to do with the property. It's still in flux, but he's looking at maybe having his personal business office there in the smaller building and renting out the other building depending on who he can rent. And again, it brings up this whole CO landscaping issue. And again, this green shaded area would give you an idea conceptually, if you had that meet the code as written, conceptually where you might take out parking to meet the landscaping, which then of course could impact what uses you could do, because now you've lost the parking, which then impacts the value you may have of the property, which again, Ms. Wade doesn't want the buyer to, be caught unawares or anything. So to her credit, she's trying to make it right. So she's actually spearheaded this rather than putting it on the applicant, which is a bit different, but whatever works. And Mark is back, so when we get to that point, gentleman's here in person. Don't know that there's much point in belaboring the history a whole lot. I mean, my understanding is the first building was built in the early 90s. The second larger building was built around 2003, 2004. But the back half of the parking lot didn't come until a couple of years after that. So, I mean, there could have been an opportunity to require some landscaping. The code would have required it at the time, but it didn't happen. The other thing, for part of P&D's discussion, while they did approve it as is 5-0, part of the reasoning was because it's kind of a landlocked property, and even though it's not on 664, it's next to the two properties that are being rather severely impacted by TxDOT. So it's, I believe the Luventon is actually using some of her parking right now. It's a verbal agreement, so it's not a official parking agreement, but that was something that had been worked out verbally before, and that's something that Mark is aware of, and they will have to deal with that as they pursue COs and parking requirements. This PD, again, would just function merely as a waiver to the requirement of meeting the landscaping code as written for the CO. So basically, he would not need to do anything with the landscaping for any legitimate uses that meet parking requirements. Wouldn't have to do landscaping. The only thing that would trigger it is you cross some 50% threshold, or something gets destroyed and you got to rebuild it, or you decide you're going to tear it all down and start over. Those would all be reasons to obviously bring the landscaping requirement back, because
What's the address?
104 and 106 Sierra Grande. So just to give you a bigger picture view, so this is the property here.
104 and 106?
Yes, sir. I believe the small building is addressed as 104 and the bigger building is addressed as 106.
Where's 106? Is that just north of 104?
Yes, sir. I believe it's the bigger building. So it's all on the same parcel, but each building has its own street number.
Okay, so this is a public hearing, and the time is
Excuse me.
8:13, and we will open this public hearing. If you'd like to come up and state your name, your address, and why you have interest in this.
My name's Mark Lamowitz, 307 Seneca, Waxahachie. It's right, my backyard is butts up to Red Oak with Waxahachie address. This Wade is unavailable to come tonight because she said she was feeling ill, and now she's said that she's done everything the city wanted her to do when these buildings were built, and she knows that land quite well because we had a survey done about a little over 2 weeks ago, and she told surveyors that they didn't have it right, they needed to come back out, and she was right. They were wrong and she was right. In the Parkway area right now, there's approximately 1,230 feet that are green area. It has 2 magnolia trees, 1 crepe myrtle, and 3 large shrubs. And some of this stuff also would be in what's designated as road right of way. Just be honest with you all about it. The back of building 1, 315 feet of green area. It has 2 knockout rose bushes. One's about 8 feet tall, another 7 feet. An oleander bush and 2 shrubs. And on the side of building 1, there's approximately 315 square feet of grass and shrubbery. And on the north side, building 2, there's approximately 1,915 feet of green area. I mean, it's grass, but, anyway, we would like not to have to take out any parking because, eventually, if you've driven Oakville Road, it's going to be widened, I'm sure. It's going to impact other businesses, and I think that at some point in time that we're going to see that businesses are going to have to share parking based on either they might be daytime office or retail. And right now there's a concrete shortage because of one of the cement plants in Midlothian had a fire and it's offline 2023. And I'm a prospective purchaser of the property, and I told Ms. Wade what I could do and to the limit of what I could do. And I just hope that the city would approve what's there right now that Ms. Wade has said that she's always done. The first building was built for Helping Hand, which aids people. I mean, she's really a very gracious, generous woman, and we'd just like y'all to approve it as it is right now. I don't have anything else. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there anybody else online that needs to speak? Okay, I'll entertain the motion at 8:16 to close this public hearing. Councilman Franklin. Councilman Goodwin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
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 Crowley, aye.
Drake, aye.
Closes at 8:16. All right, gentlemen.
I don't understand this. I mean, the lady that's selling it, the gentleman that's going to develop it or change it, why does he come before us once he buys it and do a PD or whatever?
Because he doesn't want to go invest the money in it until he knows that he can do what he wants to do.
Okay.
That'd be just like anything we're doing in the industrial park. They'll go in and get the zoning before you actually close on the property.
So, I think it's stupid to require tearing out concrete to put landscaping in.
Yeah.
If you look at those buildings, and if you remember, there used to be the Country Cafe used to be in that one. And, I think she had little pots out by the front door. And anyway, they got trees out there in the median and they got the green space. But anyway, that's my own opinion. But, council, I would strongly think that if, that right now they're sitting vacant. And if we can get a tenant in there, who is satisfied with what we're not going to require, anything, and it starts to be a business, I'm more for it right now. But
What do you say, Todd?
I recommend we go ahead and approve it. I wouldn't want to go tear out the concrete for landscaping in that area when you actually have a landscape and it's just kind of out in the right of way. Yeah.
So it sounds like I'm starting to hear the issue repeating itself. It sounds like the code needs to be updated.
I'm not sure whether it does or not. I kind of think it does not, because I think you want to be able to catch these issues. We have a lot of old, and there's a couple more that you don't hear about right now that are not coming forward because of these issues, and you probably don't want them to come forward. They probably need to redevelop. So there are very specific reasons why, when we wrote that into the code at that time, we did it. But there are issues where you have like this, where you have developed properties that are already developed, that are good uses for the property. But that allows you to look at them and say, we're okay with it, as opposed to just letting somebody come in and not have to do those things.
Right. But the approach we're taking to get there with implementing PDs here, PDs here, PDs here, I'm not a fan of that approach. But like the mayor said, I wouldn't want to turn away a potential business owner, for the sake of landscaping, to dig up concrete to do that. So I think it's kind of like catch-22, but I'm not a fan of the approach.
The approach is how we've got a lot of the redevelopment done over the past, and a lot of the improved buildings that used to be metal pole barns that now look very nice, and well developed. And I know coming from Dallas, it's a little different. But down here, we have some of these pocket areas that we just can't afford to let them, sit there. So that's why, I guess way back in 2000, forever, we've kind of went to strictly doing plan development zoning, unless you have, right, unless you have a specific use that fits on an existing zoning with no problems, and then you can go ahead and move forward. But that's kind of been the approach.
Any other questions, council? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21023. Councilman Wilson. Second, please. Councilman
Drake.
Brawley. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Goodwin, aye.
Wilson, aye. Raleigh, aye.
Drake, aye.
Passes 5-0. All right. Number 17. Thank you, sir, for coming. Conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-024 of the City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the City of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning commercial C1 to plan development 122, PD 122, for the property located on .186 acres of land, Lot 10, Block 8, Hilltop Edition, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, providing for a zoning of commercial C1 to allow for development of a restaurant with parking and landscaping requirements and dumpster access, providing for approval of the site plan, dumpster plan, landscaping plan, floor plan, elevations attached as Exhibit B through F, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative of all ordinances, providing for a conflict clause, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for violation hereof, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date case Z 21011, requested by Mr. Moore. Mr. Ginsel.
Okay. So, another quirky case. This one, Mr. Moore had owned the barbecue joint a little further in on a villa, had a fire, so he bought this existing house. Get you the site here. An existing house that was used, I think, as a law office. And we've been trying to work with him to make it work. He had, I guess, talked to some other staff early on and maybe didn't quite understand the challenges of the site. So it's a very small site here, and you can get a better shot.
What's the address?
2522, yes. West of Villa.
What road?
Oville.
West Oville.
2522. So it's next to the strip center and the church, right in between. And planning's what we call a dead lot, because there's not a lot you can do with it. And it's a challenge site. So again, we've been working with Mr. Moore, trying to find a solution that would have existed under the C1 zoning. Sorry, wrong. But that was not working out, so we ended up needing to bring this to you as a planned development zoning district change. So some of the reasons for that, again, part of it is trying to meet the landscaping requirement. The other thing is, so he's proposing a restaurant with a drive-through. Again, for this kind of site layout to have enough parking, 14 spaces for this size restaurant. There's just no room left to provide the landscaping. We talked with CWD about the dumpster. That wasn't working, so getting with their city attorney, they drafted a dumpster agreement. So for this PD, like if you're okay with everything in the PD, the one thing that still has to happen for this to work at the end of the day is that dumpster agreement has to be reviewed and approved by myself and the city attorney, notarized and signed by both property owners. He's going to get access from the church next door. To share that dumpster in perpetuity, this would be filed at the county. So that way, if either property owner ever sells property, whoever may be the buyer, that will be discovered at title. So they're aware of that encumbrance upon the property. And that'll be otherwise a private contract to ensure that dumpster access. So that's one of the kind of strange things that we did, again, trying to be flexible. I'm not sure what to tell you. I mean, it's a hard site. The trade-off here is you've got that existing office that about all it's really good for is maybe being a little law office or something like that. Or doesn't have to be this, but something like this, though, would be a little increase in the ad valorem because it's going to be a new structure with site improvement, and a restaurant would have retail sales tax. So you get at least something out of this dead lot more than if it was just sitting as a little house, being a little office like it was before. Of course, that doesn't help Mr. Moore. He already bought and owned this property several years ago, and has been struggling to get this worked out so he can get his business back up and running. So that's kind of a sense of the trade-offs and what's going on and some of the quirks. The drive-through would be here on the north side. We did talk to fire. The fire hydrant's over here, so fire is confident that with that fire hydrant location, they'll be able to safely cover any fire that may occur there. As the P&Z, the neighbor at the strip center had called in concerned about traffic. The thing there is there's going to be the median, or there already is the median. So, I mean, I drive a four-wheel drive vehicle, so I know you can always jump the median, but, I mean, it is there to try to avoid making that left-hand turn. I might be the one. I'm the guy that usually helps create that unofficial off-ramp, I think. But anyways, so there is some protection to avoid someone doing the left-hand turn. If I take you back to the GIS map, so this is the site. TxDOT's already installed a driveway for him, so I mean, he has access. If there is traffic headed westbound, I mean, yes, people may stop and go and come in and out, but that could be true for either property on either side. And then
What's his address? What's he in? The 2520?
Yes, sir. Strip center.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And then there's going to be a need for this big retaining wall here between the two of them. That's another site quirk that kind of impacts things. The back side here, he is providing the masonry screen wall to match the existing ones, which I think are more of a form panel style masonry screening wall. But he's going to match those two sides in the back. So, I mean, he's making the effort. He's tried to provide the limited landscaping he could with planters here. I did make a note that this would be a landscaping event because generally this area is going to have sort of their initial dumpster location, and then let me show you the dumpster plan. So what he'll do is he'll keep here's the restaurant, here's a kind of staging area for his dumpster. Then they'll wheel that across, across the backside of the church property.
You talking about those 55-gallon ones?
I'm not exactly sure of his size. I understand it to be the smaller dumpster, but I don't know the size that translates into. And then he'd wheel it behind this church to the church's trash dumpster. So the dumpster agreement would need to provide this access. So that way we don't have, say in the future, like these two property owners may get along and be able to reach this agreement and all is good. But in the future, if one property owner could change, they could feud, and we don't want them, feuding and fighting and someone having to go around and park in the right of way and dump in the dumpster, and then other people see it thinking, oh, that's the local public, dump everything in their dumpster. So we want to keep this idea of having this, kind of more discreet path in the back.
Can you pull up a Google of that? Because isn't that grass back behind there?
There's something more current than this, but there is some concrete. There's a dumpster. There's concrete to at least a certain amount. I mean, he'd obviously need to put in the rest.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, they can go back there.
Were you able to get the turning radius that you needed on the drive-through around the end of the building?
Yeah, everyone was satisfied with it, but it is tight.
Okay.
So I guess that one shack will go away?
Oh, yeah, I mean, the whole site needs cleared.
Oh, so it's
a whole new development.
It's a tear down rebuild.
So what's the square footage of this compared to the barber shop?
Of what he's proposing, or?
Well, no, what he's proposing to build for the barbecue house.
960 square feet.
Okay, and that's less than what the barber shop was, and yet we only had 8 parking spots. And how many spots does he have to have?
14, well, he's a restaurant. Restaurant requires 1 per 75, the barber shop required 1 per 200.
Okay, and you said the drive-through's on the north, but it's on the west?
You drive around the north end of the building.
Where's your window, sir?
The drive-through's here on the north side. I'm sorry, the west, yes.
The window itself is on the west, but the radius is around the north.
Yeah. All right, and he did add, it's on a different plan sheet, but they did add bollards here, and move the building a little further forward, but it's still tight. But P&Z did approve this, 5-0. See, yeah, this one has the bollards. Move the site a few feet, about, I think, just under 4 feet towards the street more to try to make it a little easier for these cars. So he had a site engineer helping him try to figure, this out, trying to meet as many of our codes and standards as possible, but trying to, again, he bought the property a couple of years ago. It's not, obviously he didn't appreciate the challenges of developing the site.
So again, this is one that's gonna have that landscape where we're not gonna.
Well, this one's a little different in the sense of this is clean slate because he's doing a tear down and starting from scratch, right? So he's gonna, but it's such a small, odd shaped lot, and to do this restaurant, it would be hard to provide landscaping meeting our standard and having that parking, so something had to give, and so landscaping is what was given up on. He did on the other sheet show some landscaping that would be put in the right of way as sort of a, you know, trying to offer something, but as we've discussed, it doesn't technically count. It could always disappear on it.
Well, I don't think it will now that they've finished that expansion of the road. So, yeah, you never know. All right. Anything else that you need to add?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing. We'll open that at 8:35. Mr. Moore, yeah, I want this to go back. I like your barbecue, so, why don't you speak to what we gotta do? What are you wanting to do?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. And I'm with you, Mr. Mayor. I'm ready to get back to serving Red Oak some great barbecue and fish. Try to meet all of the city codes and guidelines that are asked of me. When I purchased the building, I was told that we could make it a restaurant. That's the reason why, but it was a lot of other challenges that I didn't know. So we're trying to tackle all those challenges. And I have been in contact with the owner next door to me and with the pastor for the dumpster agreement. And I think we just about got the dumpster agreement things worked out. It was a couple of little wording in there that they was concerned about. So we're trying to get those figured out. And as soon as we can get that, I think we'll be ready to go. Now, Mr. Brian made a comment on the dumpster staging area. Actually, there won't be any trash staying out. Yes, right there. There won't be any trash sitting out. Only when the trash will come out is in the morning time, and they'll be in trash cans on rollers. So we'll roll in the back of the building, which is connected. We'll have concrete connected to the back of where the church's concrete rolls, and this concrete all the way back to the dumpster, and we'll just dump from there, then come back in, because we don't want any trash outside, period. Because what that does, being a restaurant, that attracts other things, and we don't want anything attracted there.
So how often is the agreement for trash dumping that the current pastor has at that church?
So how long would the agreement be?
No,
How many pickups per week, basically?
Oh, it's one. It's one. It's just like, I think, just like at the other locations, it's once a week. And speaking with the pastor, he said he's probably doing a week. He only has maybe one tall trash bag of trash a week. He had someone to come in, and he said most of the time they take the trash with them and dump it. So it's not like it'll be trash everywhere, anything of that nature. I'm very conscious of that. I want to keep the city clean as well as my, if it was my own house or my own city or area, I would, want to respect everybody's space.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Anyone else online to speak? All right, the time is 8:38. I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing. So, Councilman Brawley, second by Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Drake.
Wilson. That's
Drake,
5-0,
aye.
it's closed. Yep. All right, council, any other discussion this meeting?
Yes, Brian, I heard you say it's a complicated lot.
Yes, sir.
What's complicated about it?
Well, so on the southern side, there's the need for the retaining wall, because of the topography. The shopping center is, I think, maybe 3 feet or so higher in elevation. So that just being such a narrow lot, I mean, you kind of need it every inch, and that is going to take up probably, a good 12 to 18 inches when you think of the backfill and the depth of the retaining wall and all that. Then just trying to do a restaurant on, again, this size lot, as you can see, I mean, it's just to meet the parking, it's really tight, and you still can't provide landscaping, I mean, as we would normally prefer. And again, the dumpster's got to be off-site to make, the site work. So that, when I say complicated, that's kind of what I'm referring to.
It's a very small lot for a restaurant.
So Mr. Moore,
Yes, sir.
how many spots did you have in front of the building before it burned?
Well, it was in a script center, so it wasn't 14. I think it was more like maybe 10, I want to say, or less, but they wasn't all assigned to me. It was like 2 other tenants in a barbershop that was on that space as well.
Mr. Moore, how many tables do you plan on having?
We're gonna knock it down to 3 or 4 tables simply because of the parking. We're gonna try to keep it less congested as possible.
So essentially your money gonna be a drive-through or a takeout
Yes.
establishment?
Wait a minute, would you repeat that and make sure I answer that correctly? I'm sorry.
Essentially, you're gonna be a drive-through takeout style establishment with only 3 tables, correct?
Yes. No more than 3 to 4 tables are gonna be off in there.
Concerned about the maneuverability. That's just looking at it. If someone is parked in the back row and your drive-through is looped around.
What is that dashed line? What is that, the radius line for turning?
That's a 30-foot radius, pretty wide.
Yeah, so what does fire need or anything like that?
Fire's not gonna go through there. They're gonna,
Yeah, they're within the 150-foot from the fire hydrant up front, so they wouldn't have to drive.
fire hydrant right here on the corner.
So that's a blessing there.
Yeah. But I guess I'm just seeing that radius, kind of like you are probably, the dotted lines are going into the parking space.
Right, so if someone is parked there.
Right.
That's a tight. Right. Be someone is parked there and someone's trying to get out.
Exactly. Well, it reminds me a lot of Dickey's barbecue up here on the little small lot.
Yeah.
You know, they only have, 2 or 3 or 4 tables in there, and they do mostly takeout and so forth. But the radiuses and turning and everything works better for them, I think, than this one, just because you got those parking spaces and things.
Yeah, it's too bad those 3 spots need to be there, but they shouldn't be there.
So Ms. Moore, how many employees do you have there?
It will be 3 employees. Maybe
ride with you?
Maybe possibly 4, with myself included.
3 vehicles, or are y'all riding share together?
Yeah.
I would say 2 would be riding the sheriff, and the other 2, other person would be myself and the other guy. So I know 2 rides. They do ride together because they did it at my other location. Because the other person does not have a vehicle.
Brian, the 14 spots are what are required?
Yes, sir. Or it may have been 13. He's doing 14. Forget it.
So we need 13 instead of 14?
I'm saying I forget which was required, 13 or 14, but you're providing 14. So you're meeting or exceeding either way.
Okay.
C1 restaurant requires for that square footage of.
So as a PD, you could knock 2 parking spots off. It's
No, I
going to
think
be
that'd be-
limited with your indoor dining.
Well, with knocking those off, I'm also concerned about the church lot overflow going to the church's lot, and that becomes a problem.
Yeah, it's Sunday though. So have you worked out an agreement with them to be able to park when you're not open?
No, we did not work out an agreement with them simply because once we met the parking agreement for us to parking on the lot, we did not do that. I mean, they do park on my lot right now, but that's here or there. But yes, we did not work out an agreement with that on that part.
Council, any other questions?
And staff was okay with the maneuverability? It meets everything?
Yeah, I mean, it meets standards, but like I say, I mean, it's tight. I'm not saying that I've not visited places that are pretty tight like this, and it's just gonna have to be really good food to make people want to deal with it, and that's what usually happens.
It's really good food.
Well, Mr. Bryan, if we can get open, you'll get a chance to taste that really good barbecue and that really good fish.
I appreciate that I can't accept any gifts.
No gifts, no gifts, no gifts, no gifts.
How many feet do you have between the bollards and the back end of that parking space?
They, on lane with 12.
12 foot? So that,
Eyeballing 12 looks about right.
And Brian, you showed a different, I think it was the site plan that you showed initially. It was something different than what I'm seeing now. Can you go back to that?
Yes, sir. So this is the older plan, and so the building is now, the plan we were just looking at, the building is now moved in towards Avila Road.
Okay, so
About
that's
4 feet.
78 inches now. Wider?
Correct, yeah, it has more depth between it and the parking.
and what's the minimum lane width on a one-way parking lot out?
I'm not sure we have that our zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I know we have it somewhere, I just can't remember what it was. I think it was 24 on two-way traffic,
Yeah.
and I think it was 18 on one-way traffic. So you could get a car through there, but it may not meet the minimum lane width.
So pretty much it's gonna be employees parking in 14, 13, and 12,
Right.
and it's gonna be customers on 1, 2 through 10,
Right.
11. Yeah. Since that's a one-way, that way they don't have to try to parallel park or anything. Yeah. Any other questions, council? Yeah, I think, Mr. Moore, I think it'd be great if you can negotiate, since you're negotiating, it doesn't have to be part of our
Parking.
deal, but, yeah, part of your parking, since they're not there during the week, for your employees to park just in those ones right next to the property, and, since they park there over Sunday, you've got that negotiation aspect, and, because I too think it'll be pretty tight for those people in big trucks trying to make that curve if there's somebody parked there in the back. But I'm looking forward to you getting in there. So, council, I entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21-024.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goodwin,
Second.
Councilman Franklin, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Drake, aye.
All right, that's 5-0. Get to moving the dirt.
I'm ready. Thank you.
You bet, you bet. All right, number 18. Consider adoption of resolution 21-065R, the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, approving a change order on earthwork quantities to the contract, resulting in an overall increase to the contract in the amount of $40,317.75 for Austin Boulevard paving, drainage, water line improvements as provided by Exhibit A attached hereto, incorporated herein, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and provide an effective date. Mr. Hartman.
Mayor, council, this is on the Austin Boulevard project, which is currently under construction. Just as simply as I can put it, we have quantities for these items, and the quantities were incorrect in the initial contract. The contractor provided quantity calculations to the design engineer who confirmed the amounts were correct. So this is simply changing the quantities so that they match what's actually being done in the field. So that doesn't result in a price increase. So it's not a change order as in something new came up, it's a quantity change order as in the original quantity in the contract was not enough to cover the actual quantity of work being done in the field.
So in general, do we have an overrun of contingency? Does that go into this or?
No, so typically we would ask for about a 5% overage of the contract amount, but in this case, we just approved, when the contract was awarded, we only approved the dollar amount that was in the contract. So anytime we have something like this now, I would have to come back to get approval on it.
So I guess the question he's getting at is, do we have the funding to pay for it?
Correct.
Do we?
That's the question.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where's the $40,000 come from?
Well, I guess we gotta come up with it. I don't know the answer.
So that would be out of water sewer?
It could be, yeah.
Could be.
So that makes it a little bit more negative number than what we saw
Well,
in our budgetary?
Yeah, that one actually, Ben, could be paid by IDC.
Yeah.
Because it is the industrial park.
It's a drop in a bucket.
It hit me sometime. It's right.
Let's move on. Let's go ahead and vote for this right now.
So bottom line is we do have the funds to pay for it. We gotta figure out whether we're taking it out of reserves, taking it out of IDC.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain this motion. Well, council, any other questions? I mean, do you have questions?
No, sir.
As long as we can find,
I'm sorry?
as long as we can find the funds.
Yeah, we gotta get it done. All right, entertain a motion to approve resolution 21-065.
So moved.
Councilman Drake, second by Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Little aye.
Raleigh, aye.
I'm not here.
Drake, aye.
Council, I'm so sorry. Next time, we're, in our new building, we're gonna have a little bus, a little flashlight.
It's okay, this is the way I get treated at home,
Thank you. Love. All right, that passes 5-0. Departmental reports, Chief Bland.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I don't have anything to add to the report unless y'all have any questions.
Did the flooding subside?
Yes, we did have some significant rain today, in a very, very short period of time. We had some flooding in some not so usual areas off Highway 77, there at the railroad trestle just south of the I-35 Oaks interchange there. So that's kind of unusual for us, but there was a significant amount of water across the roadway. We had to shut down the roadway for a temporary, until the water subsided. And, but it is reopened, that roadway is reopened. And so we have no further road closures at this time. So, cool.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Wolf.
Mayor, Council, just a couple of updates. Our statistics this month with regards to accidents, we've kind of had an increased presence in some of our targeted hotspots, and we've got about an 18.75% reduction in our traffic accidents this month. The other update I wanted to give you was that our recruits that are in the academy that are due out in roughly a month are doing very, very well. 2 out of the 3 have exceptional positions in class rank. We're anticipating with the TCOL test that we'll have one that's actually in the running for valedictorian, which will be one of the first times we've had that happen in any of the people that we've sent to the academy. So we're excited to be getting them out roughly a month and getting them into the field training program. Other than that, I'll answer any questions that you have about the monthly report.
Good selection.
Council.
This is Gregory.
August 20th.
Well, he'll try to steal.
We just talked about that problem.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Hartman, anything?
I don't have anything to ask, you guys have any questions?
Council?
No question.
Question.
The planning and zoning went for 5.5 hours.
Yep.
Do you think we need to consider doing twice a month meetings? Is that something we need to look at, or?
No, that was, pretty, there was one big case on there that we had talked about for, almost 2 hours.
Okay.
Then we had some other minor things that staff just wanted to ask about, chicken solar panels and things like that.
Chickens are important.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Cook them on solar panels. All right. Mr.
Fried chicken is important.
That's pretty good. Human Resources.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't have anything additional to add to my report. We are trying to recruit. There's a lot of positions that are open at the moment. So we're encouraging those to apply. But if you have any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't have anything additional to add to my report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So did we schedule our second budgetary workshop date?
We have not yet.
They're working on it. The one thing to add though is, Hilltop was able to add that on there as one issuance to save the issuance cost, right?
Yes, and so that will be on our August meeting when we bring that CO to you to approve. That will be included.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Information technology.
Mayor and Council, the only thing I just want to point out, we spent a good bit of our month helping roll out the new version of Encode for finance, so the new package is at least partially deployed for at least part of the applications. And then we did set up new computers for several new employees again this month, so we are actually adding to staff, so that's good. And set up a couple new SharePoint sites for projects. That's our main part of the month.
Thank you, sir. Library. You're on mute.
Okay, now I can talk. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to announce that officially on June 21st, we opened by appointment only. We had our first families in a year. That very first day, we had about 3 families in. It's been steady ever since, about 2 to 3 appointments per day. Had my first story time in a year outside last Tuesday, and there's about 4 kiddos. I'll have another one tomorrow, and we're having popsicles, parachute, and beach bowls. And I'm hoping for a larger crowd. So we will be continuing the story times outside until we hear otherwise. That's about all I had, unless anybody had any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Park and Recreation.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to voice some thanks to everybody in the city who had everything. I mean, I think everybody had their hands in the Red Oak, White, and Blue event. So I want to thank everybody for their help. All the departments worked together as a team to make sure that happened, and it was a really nice event, good family event. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that it wasn't a park and recreation event. That was a full-on city event. So we'd like to thank each department and make sure that everybody knows that how much we really do appreciate what they did to make that event happen. So I wanted to start with that. The second thing I wanted to visit about was I've got a letter from our recreation provider over at football. Red Oak Youth Football Association is requesting that they be allowed to charge a gate entrance fee for their 2021 season. And the direction that I got from council back in January was that we weren't going to allow anyone to charge that fee, but they wrote a really compelling letter. I asked them, there's a second letter in there, if I can approach and give you all I'd like to have everybody have a copy of the letter. They sent an original letter on June the 13th, and there's a second letter that's a follow-up with clarifications in it. That way, some of the questions that were brought up by the,
I don't have access to that letter.
sorry.
He was trying to get you one.
We'll email it to you, William.
Okay.
Essentially, what the league is doing is they're making a compelling statement to us that they feel like they need to charge an entrance fee in order to essentially get a little bit ahead. A lot of the other leagues do charge an entrance fee. As a matter of fact, we're the only one that doesn't. The city of Red Oak doesn't allow them to. One of the things y'all did allow us to do was allow them to accept donations at the gate, and that was one of the things that we did. But I just feel compelled to bring that to you because I know they took a lot of time and consideration in what they were trying to say in order to sway the city to allow them to do that. And I know in doing so will cause a lot of changes to need to occur, including not only to the ordinances, but also to the other leagues and other tournaments and other users that come in and use our park facilities. So I just wanted to present this to y'all so y'all have the opportunity to review it and consider any changes that you might want to make, or if you just give me the direction just to stay the course, then that's the direction that I will go.
What's your recommendation?
Well, I say we stay the course with where we're at right now. Unfortunately, making this change means that it's going to be a change across the board for all the leagues, and it's also going to be a change for the way the city operates when it comes to our tournament and other vendors coming in. It kind of opens up the door to allowing a lot of pay to come to our facilities type of thing. And I think the city's original intent was that we would try to offset the operating costs for our groups so that a way they could not have to do that. They don't have to worry about as much as they used to have to. And just in the savings, in this case alone, right now we're saving the league probably between neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 a year by taking on everything from electrical, water, painting of the fields, all the maintenance. So charging of the fees, the intent originally was to offset things so they wouldn't have to do that. So currently, I think it would be wise to stay the course, although I do believe their argument is very compelling. I mean, they've got some strong points in there where they're trying to lessen the burden on the kids coming to play.
No, this is not a discussion we really have right now since it's not on the agenda. So thanks for providing this information. We will ask, now that you have it, you can review it, and please make sure we get it on the August so we can at least get them some information. But the August agenda, please.
And Karen, send it to Councilman Drake.
There's some other questions we have to get answered from council because it's a city facility, so.
It becomes more of a sports venue facility than a park.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Get an arms race with your neighbors.
Yeah.
Then, they'll go to X city and here, if they have what. Now, you get pressure from them to buy why. It's a different mindset, which you all certainly can do, but it's discussion.
But thanks for providing that.
Thank you. That's all
Let them know that you have passed it on to us, and we will have good discussions.
Thank you. I will meet with them tomorrow.
Oh, one other thing too, were you gonna talk about that one, we found a third basketball court?
Yes, that's, we're going to, go behind the senior center and place another basketball goal. Right now, it's gonna be a little challenging to put one on both sides because of the way that parking lot's set up. But there used to be a goal there, and it's a really dilapidated older one. So what we're gonna do is just go ahead and order a new pole and a new, a backboard and rim and put that up in that parking lot because
That was a tennis court, wasn't it?
it used to be a tennis court back in the day, so the surface is fairly level. It's just kind of an odd deal where you've got the entrance and the exit to the parking lot to where it makes it to where you can't put two sides to it, but you can always put a single side, and if you're playing like 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, you can do a backcourt on that. So that way we get one more court available. The facility right now is being used generally on, in the evening times by the Lions Club for, once a month. And then the seniors are using the facility, from 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. on, Wednesdays and Thursdays of each week.
Lions Club still exists, but
Yes, sir. They had a meeting last week and they had, 12 people show up, so they're still surviving.
That's pretty good, actually, for that. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Beyond the report, just quick update on some projects. We are on our pavement projects. The street departments installed 4 culvert crossings on Pansy Lane, so at various intersections there, Sunflower and Pansy. We've gotten those installed. They started today on Stainback. I think we have 3 culvert crossings there that we have to replace, install. Real quick on Pansy and Sunflower and that street project, the county's actually at this point scheduled to start this Wednesday. So weather permitting, these intermittent rainstorms kind of make things unpredictable, but that's the schedule for this Wednesday. And also on the 14th, the contractor is supposed to start at the Live Oak Municipal Center to begin the site and drainage work project. So things are going on and happening, and we're trying to ensure that we facilitate that. So have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Scott, have we got the ILA back from the county yet?
That is, so tomorrow, that's on the Commissioner's Court agenda. I understand that it's on consent. Kyle Butler is going to text me tomorrow as soon as it goes through court and let me know the outcome so we can hopefully facilitate them proceeding on Wednesday. So
good.
well, we're gonna go to work on this building.
I was actually just gonna give you guys an update. So the bid opened on July 4th. It's a 30-day bid process. And then this morning at 8:30, myself and several other staff members had a pre-bid meeting over at the building. It was a mandatory pre-bid meeting, so everybody that's gonna bid on the project had to be there in attendance, sign in, and go through the walkthrough, and then we provided time for questions and answers. So we had 13 general contractors show up.
Wow.
We're hoping they all bid.
Exactly.
It's good.
It closes August 2nd.
First week of August.
It's the first couple days of August when it closes.
Work will begin this fall, I take it.
It depends. One of the questions that came up this morning was, how would we feel about basically them procuring long run type supplies so that, that there's lead times on studs right now, they're saying months to get wood studs or metal studs in or whatever they're ordering. So they asked, that was one of the questions that came up this morning, could they go ahead and buy products that have long lead times in order to get them started, so, of course. So, it just is gonna depend on when all this kind of comes together, what the supply chain is like, and when they can get started. They have 18 months once they are awarded the contract and get a notice to proceed to complete that substantial completion.
18 month completion date.
That's the longest they have, yes, sir.
That's good.
Architect is estimating somewhere between 9 to 12 months construction.
Good. Okay, any other information you'd share? All right, so the time is 9:10 p.m. and we will go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.087, 551.072, and I would like to invite Councilman Drake.
Probably need to leave, Jonathan, Bob, and I.
All right, Mr. McCleary. Who else? Bob, Jonathan. That's all. And that time is 9:11. 9:11.
Hey, I need the agenda. Hey, or, better yet, I can just do no.
Perfect.
You're on mute.
There you go. Sorry. The time is 9:35, and we will reconvene back into open session. Is there, any action that needs to be taken?
No action needs taken, Mayor.
All right. Hearing no action needs to be taken, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:36, and that was Councilman Wilson. Councilman Franklin. Finally, I got it. Yeah, finally I got it right. Those vote, please.
Goodman, aye. Crowley, aye.
Drake, aye.